I advise, if you're going to do this, that you take the battery out, which gives you a lot of access to the spring tensioner for the pulley, because you know it's down the side. They want you to have a hook tool to get that big spring off, which you can see sitting there. That's not connected at the moment, but you know, not everyone has that. I even asked the shop; they don't even have one. They made one. So where do you think you get these things from? I don't know. I'm going to use multi-grips, which is the easiest way to do it.
Okay, now we're looking at the diagram. You might want to freeze frame this for a while yourself, just to get a very good idea how the belt runs through the different pulleys. They use the terms V, meaning the belt sits in the groove of the pulley, and flat, meaning the belt runs on the back of the pulley. On the drive pulley, it runs V, which is normal, and then it runs on the back of this pulley, not V. It runs flat on the back of that pulley. So you got to know that the belt from the drive to that pulley, it runs flat. The other guide pulley on the outside, it runs V as normal. The belt sits in the pulley. So yeah, difference. These two at the back, the belt runs flat. It runs on the back of the pulleys. There's two pulleys there. That runs on the back flat. Then normal, it runs V in the big clutch pulleys, and then V normal in the tension pulley.
Now, if it's this pulley, when the bearing went on mine, it broke the belt at the same time. It must have got loose and caught up or something, and it just, you know, the belt broke, so I had to buy a belt and a pulley. The bearing lasted, 11 years, so I can't complain for it died. You can't buy parts for Greenfield now. They sold the company, and I think Cox bought it out, and you know, I'm led to believe you can't get parts for Greenfields anymore. In what scope, I don't know. This is a replacement one from a Greenfield supplier. It's not the original, but there is the number GTO26002, and it's just a fraction smaller in diameter than the original, so it'll work quite just as well. Now swing back the steady bracket supporting the rear clutch link, which is this one. This one here, you got to get a spanner underneath, because it turns, you know, it just won't undo, and you just swing that back, and that just steadies this clutch assembly here. So they swing that back, and then you got to remove the spring clip retaining the rear clutch link to the yoke. Lift off the rear clutch link and swing rearwards. Now what that means is that this here, and you take out this circlip, or they call them E-clips these days, pull that off, and it just lifts up and it just swings back. And what that does is it just gives you access to this area underneath to start feeding your new belt through this area. So you get the belt, you get your belt, you start feeding it through. We'll go down underneath very. You're going to have to take off your drive belt to put the cutter belt to put the drive belt up here. Now, if your your blade belt or your cutting belt is correctly adjusted, you can just slip that off. There's enough play in it, just slip it off and bring it down, and then you can feed your drive belt up onto this one. Remember to pull it over the top of the bars underneath here, so you're not going underneath. That'd be just stupid, of course, because it'd just break straight away, because you've got to get it up to these top pulleys. So you got it in here, you've got to line it up with these pulleys under here, so that sits on the back, that one goes into the pulley, keeps going down the back, If I can get my camera up there to these two, and the belt goes, I can't get my fingers up there, it runs on the back of these two pulleys. So they're just guide pulleys, but the belt runs across the top on the back of the belt, not in the groove. They're actually flat, and I don't know what I'm looking at because I can't see what the camera's doing. Hopefully you can see the belt goes back and over, where is it, over the top of everything. The clutch pulley here on both sides. I hope we can see all that. Remember, your belt, your blade belt should just come off. I'll see if I can just take it off. Here you go. See that just came off because it's correctly adjusted. I need two hands for a second, and you can just pop it back on, which I've done now. So when I engage the blades, that'll tension right up. But yeah, no dramas getting that off to put on your drive belt up further, up here on this pulley up here. Okay. You bring your belt up. We've obviously taken this off if you're replacing this. If you're not, you haven't touched it. But I had to replace it. So to get the slackness on that, this is like a self-tensioner set up with the spring. This floats around the top of this, so you can move that around. I normally have it like, you'd have it like that normally, but you can bring it up to get this back on. So it just pushes down. See that? See it moving? When I push that. So it's self-tensioning. The trick is, don't do this up tight until you get the tension right. Because if you do it up tight when you first put it on, this won't be able to work, because it clamps it to this bracket. So I would just have it loose until you get your tension right. Is the best way to go. Now putting this back on, this is a bit of a mongrel. So obviously that you can tell that's too loose at the moment. That's going to slip. So you've got to get this to a certain amount of tension. So I'll get ready to do that. I'll just explain this a little bit more. This is a self-tensioner. It's spring loaded, and there's notches in this bar down under here, which once it tensions through, to stop it from sort of coming back, is this little clip here, and you can see that? I just took the tension off by releasing it. So that's what releases the tension, is this little clip here, which you can do with a screwdriver. So I'm just I want it to hear it clicking in. That's this clicking in to the notches under here. So I've done that as best I could. Let's come back here. See that rubbish. Right, so I'll click that to a pretty good level. That feels quite good actually. You don't want it that tight that it's going to break. So that feels quite good. So we've got to put this heavy duty spring on. Now they have a thing called a spring puller, which is like a long tool with a handle on it, with a hook. And you hook this up and pull it. It'll probably be about that long to give you a distance. Pull it back under here. I don't have that tool. They don't sell it either. So multi-grips to me is the way to go. Now see the mower's moving, so I would suggest you engage the brake, because you're pulling that much that you just pull the mower, keep pulling the mower towards you. That's how strong these springs are. That's locked. Yeah. I'm locking the brake, so I'll pull it back, but it will engage, and I can get the pressure I need to get it on here. Obviously I can turn this to whatever I like to get a good position. So we're getting here. These things are strong. Get the cutting lock. There we go. Not too hard, but see, the mower wanted to just keep coming back, so put the brake on. And then you can turn this so it's a little bit happier out of the road for your battery or whatever. About there. So that keeps pulling the rod down, keeps the tension on here, and this clicks into place on the bar that stops it from coming back. Now we tighten this up. Right, so that's just a bearing. Obviously you can't tighten the wheel that doesn't lock, but you can tighten it before you get the tension right. So it's best to leave it untightened until you get the tension right, that's all. Right, so I got the battery back in. I've tensioned the pulley there to it's a good tension. I've got the spring back on. That seems pretty good, pretty good and tight to me. And not too over tight. It's a 1/2 inch play, which is the normal probably for a belt. Now, before I give it a kick, I've obviously put all this back here. Right, so I put this swing arm back, and put the E-clip back on in there. Retain that, and I've brought the swing bar back to steady it and tighten it up, so that's all back the way it was before we started. Belts on. I've obviously put my spark plug lead back on the spark plug, so we're ready to go. I've tensioned everything's back in place. In my case, I've got a brand new battery, so we should be able to turn this on and see this nicely running and know that we're in business. Just kick her in the guts here. Still got the brake on, and remember to take the brake off. Right. What I do suggest, before you start it, just recheck your belt assembly underneath that it's all in the right positions and your cogs and everything before you start it.